in child's pose today. So if you have a bolster, once you get into child's pose, place the bolster in between your knees and close to your pelvis. So in child's pose, your knees will be apart and your toes, big toes touching. And bring the bolster in close to the pelvis, but keep your hips on close to your heels, and lay your abdomen on the bolster, abdomen and chest. You can also use a blanket for your head to place your forehead on the blanket. So just like regular child's pose, your hips will move towards your knees. In fact, you can start with your hands in front and straighten your arms, straighten your elbows, and energize your arms like you would do in downward dog. So which means the inner edge of your palms will be grounded, and a slight inner rotation of your lower arms below the elbows, and straighten the elbows if you can. And while grounding the inner edge of your palms, do an outer rotation of the upper arms. So that's an opposing action. And widen your collarbones, taking your shoulder blades down your back, and energize the actions to help you move your hips towards or on your heels. Relax the head, forehead, and the head on the blanket. Just stay there for a little bit. In a slightly more active expression for about a minute. Now keep everything as it is. Just take your hands back, wrists close to your ankles, palms facing up. And if possible, relax your elbows towards or on the floor. You may not be able to reach it to the floor if you're high up. Just relax your arms, relax your wrists, your elbows and shoulders. We're going to stay in child's pose for a bit. If you're unable to relax in child's pose, then you can just lie down on your back, okay? So in child's pose, begin to observe your breath as you breathe naturally. Connecting with your breath and counting a minimum of 10 breaths. Don't try to change the breath in any way. Just let it be as it is, natural. And now just scan your body with your awareness and notice any areas that may be tight for you, where you feel some discomfort. And using your breath, use your on your inhalation, take your awareness there, energize that area. On your exhalation, suggest for it to relax. Do that for at least 10 rounds, 10 breaths. Inhale into your ankles and suggest for your ankles to relax by releasing the tops of your feet. Relax your knees and allow your shin bones to descend towards the floor. Relax your hips and allow the back of your legs to rest on your calf muscles. Relax your wrists and elbows and allow your forearms to rest, and allow your shoulders to also relax. Relax your torso towards the floor and soften your throat, the skin on your face, forehead, eyebrow center. Cheeks, and rest your eyes, soften your eyes. A few breaths to soften the eyes, about 5 breaths. And then observe your breath again as you breathe naturally. The normal state of the mind is to constantly be distracted. So by the simple practice of just observing your breath, it's an opportunity for you to practice how to let go of distractions and bring the mind to the breath. It's natural that the mind is going to get distracted. You have to gently bring it back to the breath and keep it there. You may have to do that several times. You can also focus it on the body, on your actions in a more active posture. Or you can also focus it on the body and your actions of relaxation in a more relaxed posture. And slowly, in your own time, make your way up by taking your hands forward and bringing your torso up. Move gently, relaxed. Okay. You can release your legs. We're going to go into a cross-legged, seated cross-legged posture. And you're going to need a bolster, your chair, and either a blank folded blanket or something that you can put your head on the chair. So have the chair on your mat, facing you, the seat facing you. Let's see, Aileen, can you? Yeah, I think you can. Yeah, okay. If you can sit on some elevation, Aileen, maybe put like two of those cushions you have, or yeah, that's good. Okay, we're going to sit in a cross-leg posture. So Debbie, release your legs. Release your legs in front and cross your shins. Yeah, cross-leg posture like that. And everyone, if you can sit on some elevation, if you have something, then please do. Oh, you have your cat, Carrot, to put your head on. That's nice. Cat is on the chair. It's funny. Okay. Okay. So cross your shins. Let's see. Let's everyone take your right leg in first. Take the right heel in first and then cross with the left. Yes. Now place your hands next to your hips on your props or the floor, depending if everyone's sitting on I think everyone's sitting on something. I can't see clearly, but yeah, so just lift your sternum up, lift your sternum, take the shoulders back, bring your elbows towards each other, and with the wrists on your props of the floor, keep the spine extended. Flex your feet and relax your hip joint where the femur bone inserts into the hip socket, and relax the knees down towards the floor. Actually, you may have to help with that by flexing your feet a little bit. Use the action of the feet to help you take the knees down. And keep the sternum lengthening. Stay there for a bit. Okay, now bring your hands to Namaste, please. Lift your sternum up with the sides of your thumbs. And interlock your fingers in front. Keep the elbows slightly bent when you straighten your arms. Straighten your arms and then bend the elbows slightly. Turn your palms out towards the wall in front. Take your shoulders back, drop your shoulder blades. Then straighten your arms. Debbie, interlock your fingers, please. Yeah, and turn your palms out. Yes. Now take your hands above your head. Jackie, I don't know if your image is stuck, but can you hear me? Are you able to hear me? Take your hands above your head. Lift your sternum up even more. Take your elbows back. And then look up. Release the interlock. Point your fingers up. And lengthen, keep your spine long. Fold from the hip joint and try to take your upper arms on the seat of the chair. And take your hands in between the space in the chair. Yeah. Take your hands through. Debbie, pull the chair in a little bit. Debbie, yeah. So the edge of the chair should be halfway up your upper arms. So Aileen, yeah, your seat is a little higher. So oh, and you can't pull it more. Okay. Yeah, you could do that. Yeah. And here, lengthen your sternum, and then place your forehead just at the edge of the chair. Make sure that you have something soft there. So it's, as long as it doesn't, bother you, or if you have something softer, it's nicer because it's more relaxing for the mind and the brain. Just lengthen the sternum forward towards your chin and relax everything else. Especially relax your throat, face and eyes. And jaw as well. Relax the jaw as well. These postures are, there's a little bit of action, but they're primarily passive. But you're still getting a lot of benefits here. The hip joint is still opening here on a physical level. On a mental level, the brain is moving towards more of a relaxed state. Just observe your breath. And wherever you feel some tightness or discomfort, to apply the action of relaxation on your inhalation, taking your awareness to that area, giving it some mental energy, attention, and on your exhalation, suggesting for it to relax. Okay, and then slowly come up, interlock your fingers the same way that you had them when you went in. Take your hands above your head. And exhale. Release your hands. And just relax there for a moment. I want to figure out what's going on with Jackie. Jackie, can you hear me? What's going on?
First I couldn't, I think it's me. First I couldn't hear you, and then now my internet is just being...
So, you know, I noticed on Zoom on another class that sometimes when I muted that person, when they were on mute, they couldn't hear me. It would come in and out. Is it?
I don't think it was, I was wearing headphones and they just like decided to disconnect. So I took them out.
Fine. So can you,
but
you
then
can hear me
my
now?
internet was glitching, so I'm just trying to figure out why that's happening.
Well, you can hear me now? You okay?
Oh, no, I can't hear you. Hold on.
Okay. Or maybe just log out and log back in. Sometimes that helps, you know?
I can hear you now.
Okay, good. Okay. Okay, so let's see. So let's change the cross of the legs. So this time bring your left heel in first and then cross the right shin across the left. The right calf muscle across the left shin. Once again, place your hands next to your hips on your props of the floor and do the same actions. Like the other side, lift your sternum up first. Hands next to your hips, please, on the floor or your props. Lift your sternum up. Do an outer rotation of the upper arms. Take your shoulders back. Bring your elbows towards each other. And use your hands to keep the spine lengthened. Flex your feet and relax the hip joint. Bring your knees towards the floor. Stay there for a few breaths. When the body is most still, it's actually an opportunity for you to work with the breath more. and to soften the breath, soften your effort, all of that. Now bring your hands to Namaste. Lift your sternum up, shoulders back and down, relax your elbows. Interlock your fingers the other way. So whatever you did the last time, do it the other way. If you don't know, do it spontaneously and then switch it. Yeah, and then straighten your arms, shoulders down your back. Straighten your arms, palms facing out, and take your hands above your head. Lengthen. And notice there will be a difference in sides even in this posture. Because the hip joint is usually, the sensations and the tightness and the state is usually different from one side to the other. See if you can make a note of what the difference is. Bring it to your awareness. And release the interlock of your fingers. Point your fingers up, please. Look up. And lengthen your spine. Fold from the hip joint. Keep lengthening don't release your hands. First take the torso down from the hips by relaxing the hips. And then when you go down as much as you can, then release your hands. And then see if you can, basically the chair should come where your head reaches. So, and your arms should be at that spot. And once again, only the spine lengthens forward. As the spine lengthens forward, of course, it's going to access the hip joint and any tightness in the hip joint. So if you applied the actions of relaxation like we did in child's pose, using your breath to inhale into the areas that are tight, or even just go up the 12 major joints, your ankles, knees, hips, shoulders, elbows, and wrists. Exhale, suggest for them to relax. Consciously focus on that. The only action is in the spine lengthening, everything else relaxes. Once you've relaxed your physical body, put some effort into relaxing your energy body by letting go of any unnecessary effort, as well as releasing your throat, face, and eyes. And make your way up, please. You can move your chair to the side. Gareth, I think if you would like to share, this could be a good time.
So the Torah portion that we're just leaving this week has a couple of really, really interesting moments that take place with our ancestor Jacob. And so we read from our text that Jacob was greatly frightened. And in his anxiety, he divided the people with him and the flocks and herds and camels into two camps. So, as I was reading this text, we're told to turn it and turn it again, for everything is found within it, referring to the Torah. And it's wonderful because we come back to these moments in our sacred text year after year in this yearly cycle. And each time we approach them, they hold different meanings for us. And so certainly when I came across an example of our ancestor encountering fear and anxiety, that really spoke to me in this particular moment, as I see so many people really struggling with those emotions and those feelings in the body at this particular moment in time. So as I read this text, the question occurred to me: how do we respond to fear? And we have a whole lot of different options. We can be present to it and notice it. Notice what our physical response is when that comes. And Amit just led us through just a beautiful example of how to take care of ourselves when we're responding to fear in the body. So we can notice that fear, sit with it, and let it pass, which it will, because fear is an emotion. It isn't us. So we can also follow the example of Jacob, which unfortunately in this context I think is a very poor example, who let his fear build into anxiety. And the anxiety led to this division that our Torah portion speaks about. And Jacob physically had a huge group of people and animals with him, and he divided literally those groups into two camps. But I think there's something deeper here as well, that when we sit in anxiety and allow it to build upon itself and follow that story over and over again, we can become really so lost in that feeling of anxiety that we can become subject to this very false idea that that is all there is, that the anxiety is all that there is, and that it defines who we are. And that really can lead us to a serious estrangement from the self. But anxiety is just a feeling, it's just an emotion, and it will indeed pass. We don't need to divide ourselves like our ancestor Jacob did. We can sit with that uncertainty. We can sit with fear, knowing that while those feelings will pass and those emotions will pass, they might return. But they'll pass again. And we can know that the presence of the divine is what underlays all things, all existence, all being, all. and that is what persists.
Thank you, Karen. Yeah, it's an interesting concept. In yoga, fear is one of the 5 afflictions of the mind. Yeah. Fear is a mechanism, a survivalistic mechanism that, amongst other mechanisms that exist in our more animalistic part of ourself, more basic part of ourself, which is, in yoga, it's considered to be like the lower chakra, the Muladhara chakra, which is, it's important. Of course, it's important because you have to have the, it's a way that it keeps you safe, right? Just like other things, like for example, discrimination, in the sense, not like the way it's used now, but it's like discrimination about, if I put my hand on a flame, right, on a big fire, I'm going to get burned. So I have to be able to discriminate that I can't do that, right? So that's another example. These are like survivalistic things that's built, yeah, as part of who we are. But it's considered in yoga to be the more animalistic part of our selves. And Garrett just said that the rabbi also speaks of it that way. And there is also, then the next level is the human level, and then the next level is the divine level for us as human beings. And we have the capacity to transcend all of these negative emotions, including fear. The problem with the mind is that if allowed, it can spin off in exaggeration. It can spin off in fantasy. It can, because it's also imaginative and creative, it can spin off in any direction. So unless there is that Viveka Kyatir, it's called in yoga, which is like discriminative awareness, which pulls it back, and distinguishes that this is real, this is not real, and including with fear, right? So if there's a clear and present danger of something, and you can do something about it, you have to do it, yeah. But you have to do it because if like something is, I don't know what, any example, yeah. But there's a big chance that 50% or more of it is just coming from the mind, So there needs to be that mechanism or that skill to stop and pause for a moment and observe what's going on and ask yourself, is this valid or it's not, well, maybe a lot of it is in my mind. So that kind of awareness and scanning the mind and pulling it back is the mechanism that actually you can develop even from the practice that we're doing right now, what we did right now, right? Which is that the ability to observe the body first, because it's more gross, right? And to observe the body, to be aware of it, to relax it, do all of that, work with the body to do that, because it's more gross, it's easier to work with it. But actually the application is for exactly what we're talking about, like fear, to observe the mind, to observe the breath, and to be able to say, okay, I'm my thoughts, or the emotions as well. Emotions are part of the mind as well, right? So I'm feeling fear right? And to be able to release it through the breath, to be able to be aware of what is real and what is not, So the practice that we do in the postures, especially the relaxing postures, is directly connected to how to relax the mind, the emotions, and and negative energy, fear, aversion, even attachment, think all of that, ego. How can we be aware of it? How can we let it go? And how can we keep the mind more focused in what we're doing right now? Yeah. So the same thing when we do in the postures, you can call it as the mind getting distracted. Fear is like uh, not valid. Fear is the mind getting distracted, all the fluctuations of the mind, and bringing the mind back to what you're doing in the present moment, be it the posture, whatever you're doing in your life. But that skill, right? To not like go with whatever's what it's called a vritti in yoga. It's called a vritti, which is the fluctuation of the mind, which is usually not real. It's not based in reality. And if you don't have that mechanism of pulling back and grounding yourself back in reality, yeah, it's going to go all over the place. And I think it's happening more and more in the world that we live in nowadays, So, yeah. So let's practice some yoga. Okay, so does everyone have a brick? I think, Aileen, you have a brick, right? Yeah, I think everyone else has got. We're going to do bridge pose with the brick supporting the sacrum. So lie down on your back first, have the brick close to you. Don't place it under you before going in. Have it close to you, lie down. Then bend your knees. Heels in line with your hips. And heels slightly out. Toes slightly in, so supports your sacrum. And then inhale, lift your hips up as high as you can, comfortably, and then place the brick at the height that supports your hips. So if you're higher up, then adjust the brick so it's higher. Yeah. Then make sure that the brick is under your sacrum. The sacrum is the lowest part of your vertebral spine and not on your low back. Yeah, it should be on the sacrum, not on the low back. I think, Aileen, you may have to take it lower, as in more towards your feet. Yeah. Debbie, don't lie down on the brick. No. Yeah, come down and then go up, please, because you can hurt yourself. Okay, and then tuck your shoulders under. And here, again, once again, your reference is your 12 major joints, right? So you observe, you actually increase your awareness, the skill of your awareness, by taking the mind to those 12 major joints in the posture, to your ankles, connect with that area, become aware of any sensation, any difference between left and right. So this is a mental practice to focus and spread the mind at your ankles and then at your knees. Notice any sensations, posture. Then the hip joint. You may not be doing too much with your body, but you're actually doing a lot with your mind. Your shoulders, the posture of the shoulders, the sensation balance between left and right. Is the right shoulder tighter than the left? How does that affect your neck? Your elbows. And turn your palms up, please, Aileen. And Debbie, yeah. Then your wrists. So first is just becoming aware. And then from that awareness, acceptance that, okay, not everything may be even. Maybe my right shoulder is tighter. Maybe my left hip is tighter. Just acceptance of what it is. Not a judgment, just acceptance. And then from the acceptance, the transformation. How can you release some of the tightness and bring more balance, bring more steadiness in the body and more ease in the body? So use your breath and apply the action of relaxation on the side that's tighter, the area that's tighter. Now, if your low back is okay, gently, one by one, straighten your one leg slowly. Don't just straighten it in one shot. Just see what, know your limitation and then do it like that. If you know you can straighten it, it's fine. And then do the other one too. You should not feel any pain in the low back. Maybe some challenge, okay, but and then when you do that, once again, you'll notice the change. Bring your awareness into play there. Is the front of the right hip tighter than the front of the left hip? Accepting whatever the state is of your body without judgment, and then using your breath to inhale there, exhale suggests to relax. Then gently bend your knees one by one. Bring the leg in. The other leg, and then lift your hips. Release the brick. Take the brick out to the side. Bring your hips down and hug your knees into your chest. Okay, and then you can roll over to your side. Bring your chair, please, again on your mat. The same way you had it earlier. So you see what we just did, right, in that last posture of we're using the body as the object that we interact with, your own body. And we're going through the process there of awareness of any areas that are tight, acceptance, and then releasing that, right? So you do the same thing with the mind. With the mind, tightness shows up with negative thoughts or negative emotions. That's what tenses up the mind, right? For the body, it's a physical thing that, you know, a muscle is tight or something like that, or you're in pain. When that translates into the mind, it's the emotions or the thoughts. You know, you're thinking of something negative or you're feeling something negative, including the example of fear. So it's the same thing. How can you become aware of that, you know, and accept? It's very hard to accept, you know. That's the biggest problem. First of all, most people are not aware when they have fear. Second is, it's hard for people's mind to accept that, you know, this is because my mind feels fear. Most of the time, it'll be 99% of the time, it's because somebody else did something to you, you know. So so that acceptance part is a huge shift, you know. As soon as you can accept that this is coming from me, not from somebody else, you know, it's coming from my own mind. Once you do that, then you can switch it. You can relax the mind, you can relax the breath. Again, it's the breath that releases the mind. So if you focus on the breath, just don't listen to everything that your mind is saying, then it releases. And if you, the more you do that, just like you practice the physical posture, the more you do that in your life, you get better at it, you know. And when you're able to do it much quicker, you know, whether it's fear or anger or even sadness, whatever it is, right? That you can quickly become aware, you can quickly accept, and you can quickly transform to a more positive state. It's a practice, it's a skill, it's a practice. That's why some people are better at it than others, you know. Some people, you know, whatever happens, they're like, in a minute, they can shift it, you know, to a more positive state. Because they just have that practice. They've been doing it for a longer time for whatever reason, you know. They've been doing it. But it's also something that we can develop, just like the physical practice, that we get better at it. We can get better at releasing and transforming negative energy to positive energy, including emotions and thoughts. Okay, if I think most of you can take your legs in between the legs of the chair. I don't know, Aileen, if that's possible. Can you? No, right? Um, yeah, I just adjusted. So maybe you, I don't know how you're going to do it, but we're going to do Janusirsasana. So bend the right knee and place the right, um, yeah, like that. Right knee to the side, to the right. Place the foot against the left inner thigh. Yes, that one. Okay. Yeah, so you can just place the chair on the side or something, right? And pull it in. So, because we're going to use the chair to rest the head on. So adjust the chair. So, yeah, left leg is straight. Place your hands on either side of the extended leg first on the floor. Flex the left foot. Lift your sternum up and turn the navel to your left. Now clasp your, actually interlock your fingers in front, keeping the elbows slightly bent, palms facing out. Take your shoulders back and down, and then straighten your arms. Take your hands above your head. Look at your big toe, left big toe, and flex it. Make sure that it's flexing and pointing straight up. And then look up. Release the interlock and point your fingers up towards the ceiling, palms facing each other. And like with every forward bend, keep the hands where they are, fold from the hip joint, lengthen the spine as you fold, and take your hands forward on the chair as much as you can. Yeah, Eli, you can just hold your foot, hold the foot there. You can use the chair to rest your head, but yeah, up to you. Actually, yeah, like that. Correct. Maybe you can. Okay, and then here again, try to take your elbows forward on the chair and bring your armpits closer to, to the seat. It may not touch, that's okay, it may not touch. In fact, it should not touch, it's too close, Debbie. Take your chair slightly away. Yeah, and then release your head on the seat of the chair. Aileen, put that brick under your head. On its top, yeah, okay. And here again, lengthen the spine, especially the left side of your sternum. Flex the left foot and relax the right sit bone. One of the main practices in the physical practice is the practice of awareness. If all you did was go into the posture and became aware of the 12 joints in the posture, sometimes the joints are doing different things, but even with that, like in this, the left ankle is flexing, the right ankle is also, the right foot is also flexing a little bit. The left knee, the thigh is lifting up slightly to engage that knee. The right knee is in a different posture, it's relaxing. The groin is opening around the right knee. The left hip will tend to be heavier naturally. Lift the left sternum up, take the left shoulder back slightly, take the right shoulder forward and make the right hip heavy as the left. And I just gave you the direction for the shoulders. And the left elbow will tend to naturally move forward. Put some effort to take the right elbow slightly forward. Yeah. Both wrists are kind of doing the same thing, or relaxing. So I took you straight to the adjustments, but there was a little bit of awareness there too, as you did that. So if all you did was become aware, accept, and transform, do the action to bring more balance in the posture, that'll help you in your mind as well. And inhale, come up, please. Exhale, release your right leg. And let's go to the other side. Just go through a brief Dandasana with your legs straight forward. Flex your feet. Just turn them up, just right there. And then make your way to the other side. Bend the left knee. And place your hands. Place the left leg in position. Place your hands on either side of the extended leg. And look at you, towards your big toe. You may not be able to see it, but flex it. Lift your sternum up. Take your shoulders back and take your navel to your right. Bring your hands to Namaste. Interlock your fingers. The other way, if you can remember, or just do it spontaneously and switch. Take your hands above your head. And turn your navel to your right again. Look up, release the interlock. And lengthen the front body. Relax the hip joint, fold, take your torso closer. And then when you can't go anymore, then release your hands. Yeah. And once your hands are on the chair, move your hands slightly forward. Debbie, you may have to take the chair slightly forward. So just the forehead comes away from you, away from you, away. Lengthen forward first and then release the forehead. Yes. Once you're there, lengthen the sternum forward. And again, first just become aware of your joints, accepting where they are, and then transform, move towards a more balanced and beneficial posture and actions around your joints. You're really not putting any effort here, so you can, just the spine is lengthening a bit. So there's room for your mind to relax and for your awareness to be more expansive. And inhale, come up, please. Release your left leg. And now the other thing to remember is that if you notice when we go into postures, I often ask you to relax into it, right? And especially today, we are much more relaxed in the postures while going in as well as in the postures. Now, what happens is when you're not relaxed and your mind is tense, right? Let's say the emotion of fear. If you're driven by that, your mind is in a tense state already. Your mind is not relaxed, right? When the mind is not relaxed, the awareness proportionately becomes much less. The more tense your mind is, the lesser awareness you have. That's how it works, you know? So the first thing to do is to when you notice that, you know, there's fear in the mind, for example, the first thing to do is to relax the mind, put some effort into relaxing the mind. And as soon as you do that, the mind can actually, it has the bandwidth to become more aware of what's going on and analyze the situation in a better way. And fear, whatever it is, whatever negative emotion it is. So that's the other thing that you can learn from the practice. You know if you do something very active and you're tense. I mean, think of your other practices that you do, like even in my class where it's active, right? A lot of the times we can't. There's no bandwidth to be aware of what's going on, you know. So that's why it's important to slow things down and make the room for the mind to relax and then work from awareness. And it's the same thing even physically, even with the practice. That's why practicing slower is a more advanced stage of practice than practicing faster. Yeah. Sometimes people don't understand that, but that's how it is. So always relax first and then become more aware. Okay. Sit in Dandasana, please, with your legs straight forward. And if you can, put your legs under your chair, do that. Otherwise, Aileen, you can keep the feet one on each side of the chair. You can do that like that too. But then it's really high. So maybe just use the bricks to support your head. Yeah? Okay. And then sit in Dandasana. So apply the actions of Dandasana with lifting your sternum up, using your hands to keep the torso lengthening and widening, flexing your feet. And even here, this is a little more active, but can you spread your awareness across the 12 joints and balance them? And interlock your fingers, straighten your hands in front, take your hands above your head. And again, work from the feet, ankles, knees, hips, shoulders, elbows, and wrists. Balance the action around those joints. For your ankles, it's the action of your feet. To balance the knees, it's the action of your thighs. For the hip joint, here in this posture, is the action of your upper thighs as well, again. For your shoulders, it's your upper arms, the action of the upper arms rotating out. For your elbows, it's the action of your forearms lengthening. And for your wrists, it's your action of your palms and fingers that influence the wrists. So balance your actions and balance the position. And then release the interlock. Look up, please. Once again, inhale here, lengthen the front body. Keep your hands in line with your shoulders. Don't let them release. Exhale, relax your hips, fold from the hip joint, and then release your hands to the chair and walk your hands forward. Walk your hands forward, lengthen the spine, and then finally release your head, forehead on something. Aileen, take your feet hip distance apart. Yeah, put the brick in between on a higher level. Yes, and then try. Yeah, so here, of course, because of the posture, there are some parts of the body where you'll feel the stretch. And the action here again is to lengthen the sternum. And this is not, an action that creates a lot of pressure. So keep the action of the spine lengthening, and again, spread your awareness across your ankles, knees, hips, shoulders, elbows, and wrists, just like we did in Dandasana. Awareness, acceptance, and transformation to bring more balance between the sides, between the actions, and go towards a more positive state in the body. More length, more space, more ease, steadiness. These are all the positive qualities that we want to move towards. We want to come to a more steady and relaxed state of body, of mind, and of emotions. That is the purpose of yoga. Moving away from negative into positive. Away from tightness into openness. away from discomfort into ease. As well as in the mind and the emotional state. It's a practice, it doesn't come. The animal in you may not do that on its own. You have to train it. And inhale, come up please. Exhale. Actually interlock your fingers above and straighten your arms above your head. Lengthen the spine, release. And then release, please. Okay, and come up standing, please. And you can move the chair away, just slightly to this, away from your mat. And stand facing the camera, stand at the center of your mat. You're going into a standing forward fold. You may need your bricks. If your head doesn't reach the floor, just have some bricks close to you so the head is supported in the final posture. And step your legs apart, hands apart. Yeah, that's it. Debbie, you remember. Okay, good. Legs apart, hands apart. Pigeon to your feet in. So toes in, heels out slightly. And with your palms facing down, relax your shoulder blades, relax. So Laurie, take your hands out in line with your shoulders. Yeah. Relax your hips and turn your palms up, look up. And relax the hip joint as you fold and bring your hands to the floor or wherever it reaches comfortably. Yeah. Don't worry about the brick yet. No, don't worry about the brick yet. It's not about going to the brick. First, press down with your hands. Look at the wall in front. Lengthen the spine. Lift your sit bones up. And then activate your thighs to straighten your legs and drop the outer heels on the floor. You can do this by dropping your pinky toes, lifting the big toes up, press on the big toe mound, and take the energy across the top of the foot from the big toe to the outer heels. Drop the heels down, and then relax the big toe as well once you have that action. Ideally, the middle three toes should lift for that action, big toe and little toe on the floor. Once you have the action in the legs, then relax, keep the action in the legs and relax the toes. Lengthen the spine and exhale, relax the hip joint and take your head, chest back. Look in between your hands, slightly forward. Don't release the head immediately, but fold from the hip joint. Take the chest back. Relax the hips, take your hands back, Laurie. Yeah. And look in between your hands so the spine lengthens. Now don't lift your torso up. So don't release the hip joint. Just lengthen the sternum towards your chin. And then that'll access the hip joint a little more. And then exhale, take the elbows back and take your torso back towards the legs even more. Don't release the head, look it in between. Again, lengthen the spine, lift the sit bones up, exhale, take the shoulder, don't come up, Laurie, don't come up so much. Yeah, just lengthen the sternum forward, that's all. So don't release the hip joint, just lengthen the spine forward. And then exhale, fold a little bit more. And this time release your head and place the brick, don't come up, just take the brick, use your hand and place it under your head there. And here again, the spine is lengthening, the back of your legs are lengthening. but there's not really too much of a forced action at all. You should be able to relax here, and from that relaxation, work your awareness more than the physical body. Instead of working the physical body, work your awareness, spread it to the ankles, to the knees, to the hips, to the wrists, elbows, shoulders, adjust, find more balance. And inhale, come to the half position, please. Exhale, hands on your hips. And inhale, come up. Exhale, bring your legs together. We're going to do the same thing, but this time the feet will be just hip distance apart. So it's a little tighter angle for the hip joint. And take your heels out slightly. Basically, the feet should be pointing straight forward. Yeah. Tendency for most of us is that the heels will be in. Again, have your bricks at the same place because it's likely that you'll go down pretty much close to where you had the bricks in the previous posture. So in between your feet, Laurie, bring your bricks and yeah. Right. And take your hands above your head, lengthen your spine. And once again, fold from the hip joint. Don't release the hands yet. The hands will be in line with your head as you come down. Yeah, bring the chest parallel to the floor. Don't release the hands. Point straight forward. Bring your chest down. Lengthen the spine. Bring your torso down. Yeah, and then release the hands. Then release the hands. The fold should come from the hip joint, not from... And the thing is, when your hands are in front, your spine lengthens, and then you release from the hip joint. Yeah. And then with your hands on the floor, once again, the half position to open the hip joint. So look at the wall in front, like you did in the previous posture. Lift your sit bones up, open the hips, open the back of the legs, and then take your elbows out to the side, fold from the hip joint, keep looking slightly forward. Don't release the head yet, so the spine is lengthened. Relax the hip joint and take your torso back towards your legs, elbows out to the side. A couple of times, and then look forward slightly. Don't come up, don't lift the torso up. Just lengthen the sternum towards your chin, and then relax the hip joint, take your elbows out and go down more. Yeah, now don't lift the torso up, don't lift the hips, don't change the hips, lengthen the sternum towards your chin, and then take the elbows out, relax the hip joint. Now release the head to wherever it reaches, and then place the brick there without changing the posture. Debbie, place the brick under your head so the head is supported. And here again, the legs and the hips are opening, the spine is lengthening, but it's a soft action. Soft enough that you can relax any areas that are tight using your breath. And sometimes it takes a little while, mentally, physically or mentally, to move from a state of tension to release. It may take you a minute or two. Focus on the breath. Stay with the practice. It's not something that happens immediately. And also knowing how to endure the discomfort and shift it, transform it through a conscious practice, be it physical, mental or emotional. Discomfort is part of the experience. Moving through it to a place of ease is the practice. And inhale, come to the half position, please. Exhale, hands on your hips. Inhale, come up. Take your hands above your head. Interlock your fingers and take your hands above your head. Lengthen the spine. And then come down to a seated posture, please. Carrot, if you would like to share some more.
So I realized I didn't give you very much context to this story of our ancestor Jacob, and it occurs to me that that might be worthwhile doing. So some of you may know that Jacob was a twin, and his brother Esau, they had this very difficult relationship with one another. And we're actually told in the text that Esau is like a man of the field, and he's always spending his time actually with animals. So, and he's seen as very much this, as Amit said, I think a physical human representation of that animalistic spirit. Whereas Jacob is very much of the mind, but not necessarily in like the refined way that Amit has told us about. It's like the tricky nature of the mind. Jacob is, a trickster. And the last time he has seen his brother Esau, he has stolen his birthright from his brother. And so his fear and anxiety that he's talking about, and the reason that he takes his group and splits it into two camps, is that he thinks, well, if I encounter Esau, because he's about to encounter his brother after many, many years of not seeing one another, and after the last time they've been together, he's done something pretty horrible. So his anxiety, I guess you could say, is founded, perhaps. And he does this thing of splitting his group into two with the idea that if Esau attacks his group, his twin brother, by the way, who he has stolen something from, if he attacks the group, half of them will survive. It's very interesting if we put this in the context of these two natures of the self, especially because they're twins. And within Judaism, we have this idea of midot, of these natures within ourselves that we're supposed to balance. And if we think of Esau and Jacob as these two representations of the mind and what's the word I'm looking for? Just these automatic responses that we have, that perhaps their response to one another is a lesson to us to try to balance those two things. So that's a little bit of context for you. So, and the other very, very, very interesting thing about this place in the Torah is that 3 verses after we heard what I shared with you previously about Jacob, who freaks out and says, I'm going to split myself into 2, which never is a good idea. 3 verses later, he says the following: Katonti michol ha-chasadim umikol ha-emet. I am made small. I am humbled. He's talking directly to God. I am made small. I am humbled by the loving kindness and the truth that you have shown to your servant. Your servant, he's talking about himself in the third person. And I have crossed the Jordan, this river. I've crossed this river alone with my staff, and I've made myself into two camps. So 3 verses later, he has this recognition about himself and what he's done. And for those of us who are familiar with this story, it turns out that all of his machinations and all of his anxiety and fear, while he feels that indeed there's this very real and present danger to himself and to all of the people and the livestock that he's with, it really is all for naught. Esau, who has every reason to be furious with his brother, just greets him, and there is no conflict on Esau's side. The one who we think is going to respond out of these, baser instincts based on what we have learned about him in the past and everything that we've been told about him, doesn't. So I think it's just such a wonderful lesson for us that even if that's our instinct, even if that's how we see ourselves, that, recognizing ourselves in those responses that we see as animalistic, that we all have the opportunity to change and to balance those properties within ourselves. The other thing I wanted to talk about in this particular verse is this word katonti. So katan means small. So katonti is I am made small. I humble myself. I contract. And there's this idea in mystical traditions within Judaism of tzimtzum, and it means contraction. There are a lot of Kabbalistic explanations for this, and a lot of it has to do with God's presence and God making God's self small within the world, so basically that there's space for other things. And we apply this idea to ourselves, this idea of tzimtzum. I'm sure you've experienced or heard this phrase of someone taking up all the air in the room. So, and we've probably experienced people who have done that. We may have noticed ourselves doing that from time to time. So tzimtzum is the opposite of that. Tzimtzum, it's not a diminishment in a sense that is debasement of the self. It's a diminishment to make space for the for others and for to recognize really our smallness and the greatness of the world around us and the interconnected nature of our existence. So it's really fascinating to me that in the space of 3 verses in the Torah, we have 2 completely different responses from our ancestor Jacob, or what can be interpreted as 2 completely different responses. And in the second verse, Jacob takes the opportunity to realize that he has not only divided the people within his group, but he's divided himself. And he practices tzimtzum. He humbles himself. He makes himself smaller. And I love this word katonti because it's one word in Hebrew. And sometimes in English, we have to use like a gazillion words to get to what the Hebrew meaning is. I wish there was one word that could say that, because also the idea that there's one word is a representation of not taking up all of that space. So as we close out this week, I'm going to encourage you from between now and next week to take the time to use your ability of a distinction and being able to distinguish, to recognize how much space am I taking up in this moment? Is it the appropriate amount of space? there are times when we need to make ourselves larger. Gadalti would be the word in Hebrew. But I would say that there are probably more times that we can take the opportunity to be like Jacob in this instance, and to do this tzimtzum and to engage in what he is doing by saying katonti. I make myself small. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Karis. I think you can just continue into Havdalah, right?
What's really nice about this idea of Havdalah, when we think about this idea of distinguishing, is that that's what this is all about. That we make time for holiness, and we make time for the profane, and not to say that. I guess to say that one couldn't exist without the other. There need to be both in order for the other to exist. So we couldn't have holy without the regular, mundane, everyday. המבדיל בין קודש לכל, חטאותינו ימחול, זרענו וכספנו ירבה כחול, והכוכבים בלילה. שבוע טוב, 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 שבוע טוב. A good week, a week of peace, may gladness reign and joy increase. A good week, a week of peace, may gladness reign and joy increase. Shavua Tov, everybody.
Thank you, Garrett. Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
It was beautiful. Thank you, Kara. Thank you, Amit. Thank you. It's just
You're welcome.
wonderful.
It looked like you was playing next to the bonfire.
I'll see you.
It's nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
the car with the candle there was so pretty.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you. See you soon.
so much, Amit.
Thank you, Garrett.
This is the best.
Bye.
Let's keep it going.
Yeah. Yeah.
Debbie,
Thank
we
you.
have January scheduled out, so yeah,
Good, 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 good.
I'll send it out soon.
Good, great.
Okay. Bye. Bye, everyone. Thanks.